to my fellow freedom loving sovereign thinkers. This is LLP's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango to South Florida, and today's date, Sunday, September 2nd, 2018. So let us begin. Woo! Hey folks, hopefully everyone's doing well and enjoying their long weekend. Whatever you do, please be safe at all costs and just be yourselves, all right? Looks like I have a different mic for the time being. I may have some issues on my notebook, but this is how it goes. But I'm not going to be beating my head against the wall. Hope it will all come out. Maybe hearing the bridge behind me. That's all well and good. So, I was just like keeping tabs on what's been happening. And I noticed a couple of days ago, mainly we're talking about Soros Democrats promised to shut down the First Amendment. And I'm looking at some of the articles, not articles, but some of the information from Democracy Matters Strategic Plan for Action, which has actually happened last year around January at Turnberry Island, Aventura, Florida. So we're going to be talking about that and a couple other things. And, of course, someone arrested for videotaping the police in Denver. And, however, the other end, it's like they're expanding asset forfeiture reforms in Colorado as well. So we'll just start off right here. And it came from that. Actually, this one came from Another Day in the Empire. All of us activist posts, but, like unifying here. It says here, Soros Democrats promised to shut down First Amendment. It came out a couple of days ago, August 30th. And as it reads here, heavy resources plan to shut down the opposition. It's posted at Scribs with the following description, which I have another link for that. So you won't have to really, because sometimes Scribs don't want to subscribe. That's your decision. But I'm gonna add that footnote to it. So I'm gonna continue on here. Full block confidential memo finding Donald Trump attained by Washington Beacon at January 19th through the 21st, 2017. Democracy Matters Florida donors retreat at Turnberry Isle Resort in Aventura. The Democracy Matters Strategic Plan for Action lays out a plan to fight against the democratically elected president of the United States. While the document centers on defeating Trump, either by impeachment or Democratic presidential win in 2020, it is much of it is dedicated to finding ways to shut down right-wing media. If Democrats take back Congress after midterms, there will be hell to pay, not simply for the so-called alt-right and new right, but anybody who disagrees with the political agenda or the state. Is political and financial manipulation and endless war. On the second page of this PDF, says here, toxic alt-right social media fuel harassment campaigns that silence dissent and poison our national discourse will be punished and halted. Sounds like right off of Adolf Hitler's playbook, right? In other words, if the Democrats take back the White House and Congress any independent or alternative media that challenges or critics the establishment Democrat narrative will be shut down and prosecuted, fined, and imprisoned in much the same way is now done in politically correct Europe. This campaign will attempt to strip Republicans, conservatives, and anybody else challenging the state of the natural and constitutional right to speak, publish, and post social media. Media Matters will continue our core mission of disarming right-wing misinformation while leading the fight against the next generation of conservative disinformation, the proliferation of fake news and propaganda now threatening the country's information ecosystem. So they're trying to say that they're the chosen ones. They know more than anyone out there. They're right, everyone else is wrong. Is their way or the highway? How glamorous is that for these treasonous parasites? Psychic vampires, to be exact. But will proceed. The media matters will attack and take down conservative websites and news sources. Its plans to reform an information ecosystem that further extremism and cultivates a climate of harassment. In other words, further draconian action, limiting and denying the First Amendment and the right to assemble and seek to redress of grievances. For those suffering from the establishment, media-generated Trump derangement syndrome, all opposition, debate, and criticism of the Democrat status agenda, no matter how level-headed, unhysterical, and rational, is considered harassment along with dozens of other perceived microaggressions, simply by being in the presence of somebody who voted for Trump or perceived to have voted for him is an act of violence for these people. Here's what Cher Blue has to say. Trump is using the same rhetorical strategy that extremists use to incite violence among their followers, shown as stochastic terrorism. The tactics involve using pointed and suggestive language that inspires random people to carry out violent acts. This is on August 29th from their Twitter page, Sharing Media Blue. Yeah, they blew really bad, right? Bunch of blowhards. Media Matters encourages social media giants to develop technologies to serve as an early warning system for fake news and inoculate social media platforms for exploitation and abuse. In short, find and destroy fake news on social media, an effort already in full swing at Twitter and Facebook. The organization funded by George Soros works with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook to hide or eliminate what the state labels fake news. It says here, Media Matter has detailed map of the constellation of right-wing Facebook pages that have been the biggest purveyors of fake news, as well as insights into the food chain of fake news and how it was moving through the Facebook ecosystem. Brock and crew also worked with Google to eliminate pages and posts that criticize the Democrat establishment. Media Matters isn't interested in truthful journalism. It's interested in closing down media avenues of targeted individuals. For instance, Glenn Beck, who was kicked off Fox News after Media Matters campaign, Roger Stone was also banned from CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News thanks to Media Matters campaign. Media Matters encourages Democrats and progressives to routinely utilize and weaponize our research products and turn them on people they disagree with, people engaged in practicing the First Amendment. I'll be very frank. There's some people I know who have socialist views will not tolerate this at all. The remainder of the document lays out how Democrats will confront President Trump and force him out office along with all Republicans. So they say, there's the chosen one, hallelujah, God bless the state, belly up and say, bend over. That's what they want you to do. It also employs the discredited and absurd Russian election influence lie. This fabrication growing like a cancer on a less moribund constitution is a Brock Soros bullet point. Non-stop coverage of the influence of Vladimir Putin and Russia on Trump and his administration. You see what the hell is going on? They're using the same old song and dance over and over and over again. It's like beating a dead horse plus. And of course, when he hears about it says, and that's from Social Share Blue, it's almost as if Republicans are inviting Russia to interfere in future elections, perhaps because they don't think they can win without Putin's help. You believe this crap? I don't even follow these quacks. Good grief. They'll shut me down. They'll censor me immediately. Probably block me on their Twitter page if I throw some intellectual ammunition at their disciples. The overall objective is to pack Congress with Trump-hating Democrats in 2020, put one in the White House. Brock and his disciples encourage progressives be more aggressive as the violent Antifa attacks against Trump supporters isn't enough. Democrats will echo the aggressive, emotive, and hence irrational messaging Share Blue, a consortium of liberal Democrats unable to result of an election and take action accordingly. If successful, this campaign will enable authoritarian Democrats and their progressive allies, flush with Soros cash, to shut down opposing media and censure dissenting voices. Certainly is about Trump and his cronies. many whom would be welcome in the Clinton administration if she had won. But it's also about denying the people access to a wide spectrum of thought and opinion. David Brock and George Soros will decide what is appropriate to read, watch, and listen as you prepare to vote for the next establishment vetted political insider. Ain't that nice or what? Do you like people to tell you how to think, who you marry, who you lay, what to eat, how to think, how to wipe your rear end? You want that in your life? I don't. Because the truth of the matter is, my friends, these sons of bitches, psychic vampires, Orwellian vampires, snowflakes, saps, etc., whatever you want to call them, are nothing more than the enemies of freedom. And anyone that supports this are less patriotic than Benedict Arnold and beyond. You should all be wearing the I Love Adolf Hitler, Mao Tse-tung, Joseph Stalin buttons, and so forth. And Michael Moore as well. And I say that sarcastically. Because one thing you gotta know for sure, my friends, when you fall for this her-conformed bandwagon, it will bite you in the rear end when least suspected. That's called blowback. You're not gonna win this war. I guarantee you that. You won't prevail. It will be an F minus. And Jorge Soros, yeah, he is a whore. It's gonna get a lot more we can chew on. That day's coming. And I don't have to do anything. Because he burnt so many bridges with people. It's insane. And all you folks out there that support any candidate that's funded by George Soros, they don't care about you. Plain and simple. And it was cute because I was like looking through this Matrix files PDF format on Democracy Matters Strategic for Plan for Action. And of course, you got Crew, American Bridge 21st Century, Media Matters for America, and Sherry Blue. And it says here, I like it from the very beginning on top here, the progressive infrastructure groups we built together were started long before Hillary Clinton ran for president. They were always intended to be the first line of defense and offense when we are under siege. And like it says here, we have a mandate. Together, we won the popular vote, and Democrats picked up seats in the Senate and the House. Trump is the least popular incoming president in modern history, and the outgoing president and popular vote winner are again the most admired man and woman in the nation. I go to the bathroom, take a dump, and I find that more intelligent. And of course, as like says here, we will fight every day. We're going to fight for the things which we believe in, and we're going to fight against any attempt to erode the cornerstone work and values of the progressive movement and this pluralistic nation. So, their version of progressive is tyranny. Yes, how Orwellian indeed. And we can go here. I'm just gonna go. I'm not gonna go too crazy here. We will apply lessons learned. Generally speaking, and simply put, Democrats got clobbered in the digital space. And like I write in the third paragraph, and the right colonized Facebook, which was established a virtual monopoly of information distribution. And like I said right here, I'll just say this whole paragraph. We fully adopt the new reality and we will win. Here's how. In the next 4 years, Media Matters will continue its core mission of disarming right-wing media misinformation. All you guys knew all about that. And this is what the proliferation of fake news and propaganda now threatening the country's information ecosystem. Here's what success will look like. Serial misinformers and right-wing propagandists inhabiting everything from social media to the highest level of government will be exposed and discredited. Internet and social media platforms like Google and Facebook will no longer uncritically and without consequences hoist and arrange fake news and propagandists. So, and I said, they're talking about that in their article. But like it says here about the American Bridge will cement itself as the standard bearer of opposition research built on its role in the progressive clearinghouse for information that drives the narrative on Republican office holders and candidates. And be at the epicenter of Democrats' work to regain power, starting in 2017 and to building to 2020. Here's what success looked like. Trump will be defeated either through impeachment or at the ballot box in 2020. The balance of power will shift to the Democrats. We will reasonably, measurably impact U.S. Senate, gubernatorial, and state legislative races. We will free ourselves solely from relying on press. Our robust digital program will reach voters directly online. Very dangerous indeed. So you can read. I will add this to my footnotes. You can read all 49 pages. This whole entire book. I will put that available. And I gotta say, my friends, war on free speech, war on free press, war on the First Amendment, your natural born rights. Ain't that nice? That's what these scumbags want you to endure. So, let's continue on this free speech ordeal. This one here says, document emerges detailing Democrat plans to crush Trump should GOP fail to hold House. Pamela Geller came out today. A party of treason is hell-bent on destroying President Trump and preventing him from draining the swamp and making America great again. I'll continue on here. They are determined to win the House in November elections and then to initiate a relentless campaign of harassment against the president, eventually impeaching him and removing him from office or driving him to resign. They see a booming economy, unprecedented employment numbers for Black Americans and others. North Korea at the negotiating table, Iran at bay. All they can think is they need to make America weak and endangered again. Well, I talked some shows. I remember I did some shows on that about Jeff Sessions wanting to take away your guns and against 3D printing and all that. So I'm not gonna just remember. This is really like a pro-Trump article, but I'm just giving you my intake in good faith. People that know me understand. All right, continue on here. Battle print documents emerging details. Democrat plan to crush Trump should GOP fail to hold House by Matt Boyle by Breitbart. And even Media Matt's going in for Breitbart too. Just to give you an example. A document detailing what Democrats intend not to try to take out President Trump should take the House majority in 2018 has emerged. Under the headline, Scoop Republicans secretly study their coming hell, Axios' Jonathan Swan on Sunday evening revealed the existence of a document that lists the exact line, of attack the Democrats plan to pursue should they win control of the House in the midterm elections. The document specifically focuses on certain investigatory pathways and lines of inquiry they have already solved. The document prepared by House GOP officials walks through document and interview requests Democrats have already sent to the Trump administration's The President's Business, the Trump Organization, and the President's Campaign in 2016. Congressional Republicans are getting ready for hell. Axios has obtained a spreadsheet that circulated through Republican Circle on and off Capitol, including at least one leadership office. This meticulously previews the investigation Democrats will likely launch if they flip the House, Susan writes. Susan then lists some of more than 100 items contained in a lengthy GOP document. Here is a direct quote of the bullet point list from Swan's piece of Axios. President Trump's tax return, Trump family business, and whether they comply with the Constitution emoluments clause. Emoluments clause. Got tongue-tied there. Sorry about that, friends. Including the Chinese trademark grant to the Trump Organization. Trump's dealing with Russia, including the president's preparation for his meeting with Vladimir Putin, the payment of Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, James Comey's firing, Trump's firing of U.S. attorneys, Trump's proposed transgender ban for the military, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin's business dealings, White House staff personal email use, Cabinet Secretary travel off expense and other misuse perks, discussion of classified information at Mar-a-Lago, Jared Kushner's ethics law compliance, dismissal of members of the EPA board scientific counselors, the travel ban, family separation policy, hurricane response in Puerto Rico, election security, and hacking attempts, White House security clearance. The spreadsheet, which I'm told originate in the senior House Republican office, catalogs more than 100 formal requests from the House Democrats to Congress, spanning nearly every committee Swan wrote. This document only begins to demonstrate exactly what the Democrats will do to Trump if they take control of the lower chamber of Congress in the midterm elections. I'm not too surprised at all because you hear the same thing over and over again. Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. If he farts, I have a cow. If he tweets, my eyes pop out. You know how that goes. But very interesting indeed. More of this witch hunting fetish for sure. But you know what? It's nothing new at all. But these cloak and daggering parasites are just an example of what's going on. And of course, you see the Soros thing and all that. So all it is just attack everything at all costs. People are waking up. Conscious shift is happening. They're not going to fulfill it. It will fail big time. In the long run, it will. So, we're going to do a little geopolitical here. And this one here, my friends, came from Land Destroyer. Activist Post had it on their site. U.S. British Neo-Imperialism and its modern-day missionaries. By Tony Carlucci. The worst sort of deception is that perpetrated by those who pose as defending the most vulnerable when, if in reality, they are leveraging circumstances, exploiting suffering, and in many cases, playing the direct role in perpetuating both. This is an apt description of Washington, London, and Brussels' globe-spanning human rights racket, as used as repeatedly as a pretext of political meddling and even war. With ties between Myanmar and China growing, the U.S. and its European partners are working to pressure co-op or overthrow Myanmar's current political order, which includes not only a powerful independent military, but also civilian government. The U.S. and U.K. played a direct role in placing the power. The decades of U.S.-UK support for Aung San Suu Kyi, Myanmar's current state counselor, now hang around her and her National League for Democracy political party's neck like a milestone. The very foreign-sponsored network they invited into Myanmar to assist them into power are now being leveraged against them to coerce Myanmar's domestic and foreign policy. Another dubious UN report. A recent UN report on alleged atrocities being carried out against the Rohingya minority in Myanmar has been accomplished by coordinated public relations led by the Western media and Western UK and European Union funded fronts posing as non-governmental organizations or NGOs. Part of this PR campaign has included calls to refer many of the Myanmar's military leaders to the International Criminal Court, an institution seen around the world as a continuation of Western colonization, especially in Africa. Pressure has also been placed on Myanmar's civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi and her NLD party. The overall effect is the West's ability to leverage ethnic violence to place pressure on Myanmar, allowing the West to exact concessions as well as impose sanctions on or remove from power any prominent political or military figures at will. The primary foreign policy objective of the West is to serve Myanmar's ties with China, transform Myanmar into an obedient client state, and use success there to expand similar efforts across the rest of Southeast Asia. The actual UN report, officially titled Report of the Independent International Fact-Finding Missions on Myanmar, PDF, reveals this methodology to have been interviews. It claims the mission amassed a vast amount of primary information. It conducted 875 in-depth interviews with victims and eyewitnesses, both targeted and randomly selected. It obtained satellite imagery and authenticated a range of documents, photographs, and videos. It checked this information against secondary information access as credible and reliable, including organizations raw data or notes, expert interviews, submissions, and open source material. The report also admits the mission held over 250 consultations with other stakeholders, including intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations, researchers, and diplomats. In person and remotely, it received written submissions, including through a public call. Is this the second point that is of particular concern? It appears much of what the UN report includes is merely a repeat of information US, UK, and EU-funded supposed NGOs, central components of the West human rights racket, have already reported that their own highly secret publications. Among these is Fortified Rights, funded by the US, UK, Canadian, and Dutch governments, as well as the convicted financial criminal George Soros Open Society Foundation. The UN report appears to be merely a short summary of Fortified Rights report. They gave them long swords. It's funny, so all those people running for office are funded by convicted financial criminal George Soros. Ask him that question. How's it feel having a crook? This is great. So, and they get the whole thing, the Fortified Rights supporters right there. You can see it for yourselves. When confronted with questions regarding Fortified Rights, acceptance of money from governments currently engaged in human rights abuses around the globe, including weapon sales to Radia and assistance in Radia's war on Yemen, Fortified Rights founder and American Matthew Smith attempted to deflect and downplay his organization fundings. He claimed NED money did not constitute U.S. government funding because U.S. congressional funds passed through NED before reaching him. He also claimed that his organization accepted from the UK was not used for work in Myanmar, claiming it went instead to a program his organization is running in Thailand. Apparently, in the belief that this explanation resolved an obvious conflict of interest his organization activities and his funding represent. Worst of all, Smith acknowledged the UK's role in Myanmar's current crisis. It was British colonialism that intentionally fomented and exploited the very ethnic tensions still playing out in Myanmar today. This includes virtually all of the ethnic groups Fortified Rights poses as champions for. Smith and others within Fortified Rights have been asked and have repeatedly failed to explain how foreigners funded the very government that created Myanmar's ethnic tensions, inserting themselves into ongoing violence can serve as a solution to this conflict. Instead, it is clear that what the British had intentionally done generations ago to divide and conquer then Burma continues in the modern-day Myanmar. Matthew Smith's organization, Fortified Rights, served as the modern-day equivalent of missionaries who helped argument the British Empire's conquest much of the planet. The vanguard of colonialism, missionaries, and frontier in southern Africa in the 19th century, written by Professor Paul Gifford, provides this helpful insight into the role of missionaries during the height of European colonization. The role of mission societies in southern Africa is a controversial one. In many respects, their stated goal were admirable. The creation of a peaceful society which had no internecine warfare, the education, the uplift of the people, and so forth. But in practice, missionaries would fulfill roles very similar to and often interchangeable with secular European explorers and diplomats using and manipulating the Africans they encountered as best befit them best. In the end, the war was not between God and Satan for the souls of Africans. It was between Europe and Africa for the hearts and minds of the people, and the result for that battle is still undecided to this day. And it's interesting here, the one person says it right here, the history of European colonialism in Southeast Asia is no different. But you ask, this is by Matthew Smith, he tweeted, but since you ask, we're not all satisfied with the UK approach in Myanmar with respect to advancing accountability, and we're well aware of the horrendous colonial history in its aftermath, which is still unfolding today. And ironically, Matthew Smith of 45 Rights would himself admit, and it says it right there. It's ironic because Smith either is unaware of or refuses to acknowledge Myanmar's crisis isn't merely the aftermath of British colonial history, it is a continuation of it. And Smith's 45 Rights is serving the role verbatim described by Professor Gifford regarding missionaries and facilitating Western colonization. And it says here, U.S. NED funds both 45 Rights and those 45 Rights are supposed to be investigating. UN report in 20 pages total only mention Aung San Suu Kyi once and only in the context of failing to condemn the ongoing violence. The UN report also only mentions non-military actors involved in ethnic violence in a single sentence. Yet the truth is that many who directly facilitated Aung San Suu Kyi ascent to political power in 2016 have been openly promoting hatred toward ethnic groups like Myanmar's Rohingya. So, okay, I hope I pronounced that right. For decades, they have also opened, enticed, and called for violence against Rohingya. For none of them attracted the attention of fronts like 45 Rights of the UN. Much of Aung San Suu Kyi's support base is infected. Groups who have received significant U.S. praise and support have openly denied ethnic groups, especially the Rohingya recognition or protection. Many have openly incited hatred and even violence against the Rohingya. I think that's Rohingya. Okay, I hope I pronounced that right. Good grief, I'm tongue-tied here. This includes not only extremists posing as Buddhist monks, but also political groups like 88 Generation student groups whose funding members, Min Ko Niang, was presented with the U.S. National Endowment for Democracy Award. How nice. So if you're a tyrant or if you're a tyrant like a murderer, you get respect. The Irrawaddy, another U.S. NED-funded front, in its article analysis using the term Rohingya, would run through a list of U.S.-funded activists and U.S.-UK-backed NLD members denouncing the Rohingya, helping to fuel the ethnic fault lines that have divided the country and brought violence upon both sides. NED Democracy Awards recipient Min Ko Niang would claim, according to Ariwadi, that the self-identifying Rohingya are not ones of the 135 ethnic groups in Myanmar. Yu Win Tin, a founding member of Suu Kyi's NLD, are awarded by Reporters Without Borders for Journalists of the Year, recommended interning Rohingya in camps, claiming at it. My position is we must not violate human rights of these people, the Rohingya, or whatever they are. Once they are inside our land, maybe we have to contain them in one place like a camp, but we must value their human rights. Ko Jiwi, another member of the U.S.-funded and backed 88 Generations student groups, will go as far as vowing to take up arms against the Rohingya, whom he called foreign invaders. In another U.S. NED-funded Irrawaddy article published in 2012 titled Trauma Will Last Long Time, Ko-Ko-Ji would be revealed that in early June, Ko-Ko-Ji accused neighboring countries of fueling the unrest in Arakan State and stated categorically the 88 Generation group will recognize the Rohingyas as an ethnicity of Burma. So He said that his organization of followers are willing to take up arms alongside the military in order to fight back against foreign invaders. Coco G, vowing in 2012 to carry out the very violence unfolding in Myanmar today, found himself in Washington, D.C. in 2013 after having made his vitriolic remarks in favor of genocide. He was invited specifically by the U.S. NED to participate in a panel examining the transition to democracy in Burma. There's a video for that. You can see that for yourselves. Even at face value, Fortified Rights being funded by the U.S. NED tasked with investigating violence against the Rohingya and other minority groups, including violence and calls for violence carried out by other recipients of NED support. And it is an immense conflict of interest, entirely compromising the investigation's legitimacy and Fortified Rights' legitimacy as a human rights advocacy group. It is no wonder that in Fortified Rights, 162-page report, they gave them long swords. Only 4 pages are dedicated to civilian perpetrators, and these civilians are linked entirely to the military, with no mentions of the U.S.-funded organizations they are tied to and incited by, perpetuating abuse, not protecting the vulnerable. Fortified Rights is selectively reporting what is happening in Myanmar. For now, it is placing the blame on the military to remove entirely from Myanmar's political escape. Evicting the law-extending obstruction to U.S. and British interests is also laying the groundwork to coerce the civilian government if necessary. Wow, wow, wow. All hail to tyranny. God bless the New World Order, right? Fortified Rights to provide its Western government and corporate sponsors, as well as literate modern-day missionary foundations who fund it, with a pretext to insert themselves in, amid ethnic tensions to once again exercise control of Myanmar, its government, military, people, resources, and policy, just as the British did when Myanmar was a colony. Real rights advocacy and non-governmental organizations do exist. They exist in communities supported by the very people they claim to represent. International human rights advocacy has always been and continues today to be a vivid echo of Europe's colonial past. This includes the missionaries who helped facilitate it, who now manifest themselves as NGOs. Fortified Rights categorically fail to address legitimate questions about their funding and their methods, including why civilian perpetrators funded like them by the U.S. NED are not mentioned anywhere in their lengthy 162-page report. While Smith himself acknowledged the British colonization set the stage for ethnic violence of Myanmar, he knowingly covers up his role in the continuation today. Myanmar's crisis will continue as long as it serves as an opportunity for the West to involve itself in the Myanmar's internal affairs, though coercion based on humanitarian concerns, all while the West itself intentionally fuels all sides of the conflict. For the people of Myanmar is tempted into continued ethnic feuding, healing rifts on their own, to thus expelling foreign interference is the only way to the nation will truly achieve its independence, as an independence that has always been incomplete because of the lingering remnants of British colonialism hanging over the nation still to this day. It was division that divided the British, and it is the division today that continues affording the UK, US, and EU space to remain. Yes, it's more foreign entanglements, and that's why, my friends, I am not too pleased about this at all. And time again, although it becomes blowback, let the people there live in peace. Be their allies, do trades, be honorable, but don't dictate. Once again, it'll call blowback. This is a real shame, on what's going on over there in every area of the world. So please, I beseech these individuals, stay out of their affairs. Good grief. Yeah, next one here came from Activist Post. I believe it's Free Thought Project. Denver police who arrested journalists for doing her job won't face charges. All right, nice. By Aaron Kiesel. The Colorado Independent editor Susan Green was handcuffed and detained in July for attempting to photograph police as they responded to a call on a public sidewalk, Huffington Post reported. According to the Colorado Independent, Green was driving along East Conflicts Avenue near the Colorado State Capitol building on the afternoon of July 5th when she noticed Denver police surrounding a half-naked African-American man sitting handcuffed to the sidewalk. So Green stopped to see what was happening. Ironically, Green is an investigative reporter who is no stranger to police brutality, known for writing about instances where police have harassed and killed African Americans. Police responded to Green's attempt to take pictures on the scene by blocking her from committing her civil duties as a journalist to investigate what's going on. As Green detailed in a post the next day, and a video obtained by the Colorado Independent confirms, she approached the scene and was immediately blocked by Officer James Brooks. Brooks then joined by Officer Adam Paulson and to inform Green that she's forbidden from taking photographs because it violates the HIPAA rights of a man laying there half naked and handcuffed is an absolutely language laughable statement. The HIPAA or HIPAA is short for the Health Insurance Probability and Accountability Act, which is an outline of individual rights to medical privacy. There's also a First Amendment, Green retorts. Have you heard it? That doesn't supersede HIPAA. Paulin responds back. Brooks repeats Paulin and adds, step away or you'll be arrested for interference. Tension between the three pickups, and then Green is seen directing her iPhone at Brooks' police badge, which at some point Brooks swat at her phone, repeating herself, step away or you'll be arrested for interference. How manly is that, right? It's after this what we see the officers handcuff Green, who screams, pain, ow, stand up straight. Paulin orders Green, act like a lady. Oh, but yeah, I don't have to act like a man, I act like a chump, right? Stand up, act like a lady. Brooks reiterates, are you fucking kidding me? Green responds, act like a lady. There you go, Brooks. Now you're going to jail. Hallelujah, yay. I need a hero. I need a hero to show me how to rot my rear. Exactly. That's why I make fun of these people. I love mocking these clowns. Green worked at newspapers in California and Nevada before joining the Denver Post as a reporter and columnist. She and the Post colleague were the finalists for the 2008 Pulitzer Prize for investigative reporting about the destruction of the DNA evidence in criminal cases, Colorado Politics reported. This video is a shocking abuse of civil rights, liberties, and apparent display of law enforcement violating the Constitution and the right of the unimpeded free press. Yes, there's a thing called free press. I'm glad that came out on free press. Yes, it is Article 2, Section 10. No law shall be passed impairing the freedom of speech. Every person shall be free to speak, write, or publish whatever he will on any subject, be responsible for all abuse of that liberty, and in all suits and prosecution for libel or truth thereof may be given in evidence, and the jury, under the direction of the court, shall determine the law and fact. So there's no such thing as ex post facto laws in Colorado. And just to let you folks know, Denver's finest, and anyone else that are insecure, inalienable rights. All persons have certain essential inalienable rights, among which may be reckoned by the right of enjoying and defending their lives and liberty, of acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and of seeking and obtaining their safety and happiness. And there's enumerated rights in there as well. I think it's 29. I don't have to really talk about it, but it's self-explanatory. I believe it's 29. 28. Rights reserved, not disparaged. Same thing as the 9th Amendment. So you know what? Too bad, Denver police. But I'll continue on here. However, none of this bothered District Attorney Meth McCann, who had a phone call last week with Green informing her that these officers will not be seeking to press charges against the officers, despite their misconduct. Great cheers for the government. Hip, hip, hooray. Green detailed the call in the Post last week. McCann said the charge of false imprisonment wasn't an option because there is an exemption for cops. So you see that? They're an exemption for cops. They're glamorous. They're kings. They're gods of Denver. Remember that. So we'll just continue on here. And she said her officers likely would have a tough time convincing the jury that Brooks assaulted me. I asked McCann about her take on the incident beyond the question of criminality. I don't know that he knew you were a journalist, for one thing. Sorry, she said. But people on town to take pictures as long as people are not getting in the way of the police. She added that Brooks' "I got a lady" comment was a little unnecessary. And she said we'll likely be hearing something from Hancock's administration now that she made her decision not to prosecute. As a result, Independent notes that the news organization may take legal action on its own. If we need to file legal action to hold the city accountable, so be it. Mary Newman, a lawyer for Green and the Independent, said. Newman added, the officer's excuse that Green was violating HIPAA is ridiculous. HIPAA does not apply to an individual on the street. It's designed to protect private medical information. For example, information that a medical provider or insurance company might have about a patient. HIPAA does not impose any obligations of a private individual walking around the street. Green wrote on the context of her interest in this scene from Denver's history of uninformed officers harassing, hurting, or killing folks, sometimes without offering them medical help. Of course, sovereign immunity and tort liability, right? It stems partly from the fact that the Denver sheriff deputy stood up around the limp, lifeless body of Marvin Booker, a Blackstreet preacher, after they killed him in Denver jail in 2010. She wrote, and it also stemmed from officers similarly having stood around Michael Marshall, a mentally ill, homeless black man, after having fatally restrained him in 2015. Essentially, once again, police made up laws that didn't exist and won't be reprimanded for their failure to understand the law they are sworn to uphold. While mocking a woman, arresting her, and possibly intentionally hurting her as a message to her during confrontation. The only mistake is that they didn't realize she covers police brutality issues, so it is inviolable that this blows up. Absolutely. And let's let the DA and the city of Denver, Colorado say this. Section 2. Article 2, Section 2. People may alter or abolish a form of government. The people of the state shall have a sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free and sovereign independent state, and to alter and abolish the Constitution, a form of government, whatever they may deem necessary to their safety and happiness, provided such change not to be repugnant to the Constitution of the United States. So, of course, right here, vested in the political power, Section 1, Article 2, all political power is vested and derived from the people. All government of right originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. So, you know what? Penile microphone to Miss McCann. That's right. And it's not sexual harassment either. And for sucking up to the clowns. You know that? It shows how stupid the people think you are in Denver. No way, no how. So right there, my friends, blowback. It's coming soon. And I don't say by violence. Hope that's not the case, but principle. They're not obligated to protect you. Why give them the power to harass you? All right? That's how I see it. And you know what? I think the people in Denver should do a recall on this woman. Why not? Because she's lying to you anyway. Lying to the people. Beth McCann, yeah, you should recall her behind. Do a recall vote on this Medusa, in disguise. Okay, so we got one more here. Some of the things I could say about the positive note of possible Denver, Colorado may be doing here. And this came from the 10th Amendment Center. Came out September 1st. Activist post once again. New Colorado law expands asset forfeiture reforms. Asset forfeiture is stealing. Exactly. Mike Meharry. Today, a new Colorado law went into effect, expanding as civil asset forfeiture reporting requirements instituted last year. Representative Leslie Herod, Democrat from Denver, sponsored House Bill 1020 on January 10th. The legislation expands asset forfeiture reporting requirements by redefining the agencies required to submit reports. Last year, Hickenlooper signed a bill into law that instituted extensive reporting requirements for any agency seizing property under the United States asset forfeiture laws. It also took a big step toward closing the loophole, allowing prosecutors to bypass more stringent state asset forfeiture laws by passing cases off to the federal government. This was particularly important in the light of policy directive issued by Attorney Jeff Sessions for the Department of Justice. Yeah, not my Attorney General, Weasel. The law passed last year requires seizing agencies to submit extensive forfeiture reports under HB 1020. Any report agency defined as any state or local entity that employs a person other than a judge or magistrate who is authorized to effectuate a forfeiture of real personal property will now have to submit reports. The new law also specifically includes the office of a district attorney and local law enforcement agencies. The broader definition will ensure all agencies involved in the forfeiture process are included in the reporting requirements. By increasing transparency, HB 1020 allows Coloradans to see the reality of asset forfeiture more clearly, and as the saying goes, sunlight is the best antiseptic. Transparency often creates momentum needed to drive future change. The Senate passed HB 1020 by 33 to 1. Whoever the one's probably blowing the state, blowing the police, I would say, right? The House previously passed the measure by 38-15, 38-25 vote. Good grief. You got a bunch of tyrannical Uncle Toms here, and Aunt Jemimas. Good grief. The enactment of this bill reveals an important truth. First steps generally leads to second steps. The bill passed by Colorado legislators last year certainly wasn't perfect, but it creates a foundation for the expansion of the reporting requirements. Now the state legislature has expanded the existing law and increased transparency over the state's asset forfeiture process further. This will hopefully lead to even more substantial reforms in the future. HB 2020 also includes provisions creating new law enforcement assistance grant program in the Department of Public Safety to reimburse seizing agencies for revenue lost due to the state and closing federal loophole. Police departments can now show they missed out in equitable sharing proceeds due to the new law will be able to apply for these grants. Colorado opt out. While Colorado asset forfeiture don't provide the level of protection they should, they are stricter than federal law. The IJ gives Colorado federal forfeiture laws a C. Colorado statutes does not include a high bar to forfeit property, but they do not require a criminal conviction. They also provide a relatively robust protection for innocent third-party property owners, and law enforcement can only keep up to 50% of proceeds. With these relatively stringent policies in place, police have an incentive to pass cases to the Fed in order to circumvent them. Unsurprisingly, the state ranks the 15th in the country. The amount of federal asset forfeiture money brings in totally $47.7 million over 2013 calendars. The law passed in 2017 prohibits Colorado law enforcement agencies from transferring seized property to a federal agency unless it has a net value of more than $50,000. It also prohibits states and local police from accepting payments or distribution from a federal agency of all and any part of the forfeiture proceeds resulting from adoption, joint task force, or other multi-jurisdictional collaboration. Unless the aggregate net equity value of the property and currency seized in the case in excess of $50,000, the case is commenced by the federal government and it relates to a filed criminal case. Over the last 5 years, the 85% of the $2 million in seizures received through a federal equitable sharing program did not meet the $50,000 threshold, according to the Colorado Municipal League. Additionally, IJ reports that 82% of the proceeds received through the DOJ's equitable sharing program came from joint task force and investigations. The 10th Amendment Center Executive Director Michael Bolden said changes made by HB 1313 will be significant. While we like to see Colorado and every other state completely opt out of this federal program, 80 to 85% reduction in seizures through its federal scheme was a huge step forward to nullify it in practice and effect. He's absolutely correct. So it is a lot better than before. You got to proceed, pursue, and keep going, and honor your state constitution as well. Article 2, if I'm correct. Section 7, all right, and this thing on due process. Section 15, huh? So you can definitely check this out yourselves. But you gotta keep pursuing this. So I'm definitely leave that Colorado Constitution in there as well, so you folks can look at it. Just make it better. So I'm gonna put that. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it right in between there. So between Denver Police and the Colorado Forfeiture Law, so you can just actually read that too. I'm gonna put it right in the bottom. What the hell? Cool. All right, folks. That is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you're sending something that's interesting you want to check out, wherever you do, please send your correspondence to Decorum. I am going to hit all my social media sites on my Spreaker page. In addition, you can email me at lookatluck3@gmail.com or to your encrypted ones, especially mainly with the ProtonMail account, lookatluck03@protonmail.com. All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.